Well, hi everyone, this is Chiranjeevi, and in today's video, we are going to discuss the observer design pattern. So, we will take a look at the definition and then we will try to understand what is this observer design pattern and what is the problem this is trying to solve. After discussing that problem, we are going to discuss the UML diagram and go through a set of steps which will help us to implement the observer design pattern from scratch. So, let's get started. So this is the definition for the observer design pattern. An observer is a behavioral design pattern that lets you define one-to-many dependency between objects so that when one object changes state, all its dependents are notified and updated automatically. So this is the essence of this observer design pattern. To make this more clear, I would like to show you a diagram which represents this complete definition in one picture. So it will be very easy for you guys to understand this. So this is the diagram I was talking about, and this actually describes the flow for this observer design pattern. So in observer design pattern, we have two entities. The first entity is called the subject, and the second entity is the observer. And then the idea behind this observer design pattern is it lets you define a one-to-many dependency. So as you can see here in this diagram, we have a one-to-many dependency. Many observers are depending on one subject. So subject has a one-to-many dependency between subject and observer. The second part of the definition says that when one object changes state, all its dependent are notified and updated automatically. So here in this diagram, the thing is, if the subject modifies its state, all its observers are going to observe that modified state and update themselves automatically whenever the subject changes its state. So this is the essence behind this observer design pattern. The observer is notified by the subject that there is a change in the state, and observer can take necessary actions according to this. So you can imagine this pattern in a whole lot of scenarios where there is one thing you want to observe, and when at the point, at the instant at which that thing changes, you want to do something. So whenever you are observing that this is the scenario you need, you should actually check the observer design pattern. So let's take a look at the little UML diagram which will demonstrate us more clearly how will we do this by code. So as discussed, we have two entities here. The first entity is subject and second entity is observer. In our UML diagram also we have two entities, which is a subject and an observer. And subject has three methods, which is register observer, remove observer, and notify observer. So this interface will be having three methods to qualify as a subject. Similarly, an observer will also have its update method. So what subject will do is whenever there is an update in this subject's field, it will call update on its observers. Now, since this is an interface, we need to actually build a concrete implementation for this interface, which will provide implementation for all these abstract methods. We will create a concrete subject and a concrete observer. And as you can see, a subject has an observer and observer has a subject, and both of them implement from the corresponding interfaces. Now let's look at a set of steps which we need to define in order to actually code this design pattern from scratch. So what we will be doing is we will be using the Java programming language to implement this. And the first step what we need to do is to create an interface called subject with these methods. Let's go to our IDE and create a subject interface with these methods. So here we are in the IDE, and I have already created a class for this subject interface, and let's define these three methods. So the first method which we are going to define is the register method. So we will say void register. The second method is the unregister, and the third method is the notify observer. Now let's look at this method signature one. So we want to register an observer to an subject, so we need to take a observer class for this, and this will take the observer and register itself. Now for this unregistered also, what we are going to do is we are going to create an unregistered method which will also take an observer and given a reference to an observer, it will unregister this observer from the subject. Now we need one more method, which is called notify observers, which we will be using to notify the observers whatever are registered for this subject. Let's go to the second method. The second point says that create an observer interface with notify me method. So let's go to our observer interface. This is the observer interface, and I have created this class already. So let's go ahead and define the notify me method. Now, since we have defined this notify me method, I have given an integer I argument. So I want to notify this observer with an integer I. So now we are done with the two steps. The third step is to implement these interfaces and provide the implementation for these abstract methods. So let's go to our radio station class, which is the concrete implementation for this subject. So what we will do here is we will implement this method provided by our subject interface and start coding. So the first thing we need here is a list of observers. So what we will create is list of observer, and we will call this my observers, and we'll say new array list of observers. So now we have this list of observers, and the second thing I want to do here is create a variable which we will be updating to be so that the observers can be notified. So this is the variable. Let's say this is a golden number for a lottery ticket, and this is 2. So all the observers will be registering to this subject and will be wanting to be notified about this golden number. Alright, so the golden number is 2 now, and whenever there is an update in this golden number, what we are going to do is we are going to notify all the observers in my observers. So whenever there is a register observer call, what we will do is we will take our my observers and add this observer to our my observers list. Similarly, when we have an unregistered observer, we will call my observer and remove it from our observer list. So this is how we'll implement the register and unregistered method. You could add your own logic for filtering and doing all those kinds of stuff. So this is a very simple example how we can implement this observer design pattern. Now regarding this notify observer, what we are going to do is for each observer we want to notify itself. So my observers.stream, and we'll say for each observer we want to notify itself. So what we'll do here is we'll create a lambda function which takes an observer O, and we'll call the notify me method on that, and we will pass the golden number here. So whenever there is an update in the golden number, what we are going to do is we need a way to identify notify all these observers. All right, so now this subject interface is ready. We need to add one more method to actually update the golden number. So let's add a method to update the golden number. We say update golden number, and we take a new golden number which is int I, and we say this dot golden number is equal to I. So now we are done with implementing this radio station class, and we have implemented all these methods from the subject interface. So the next step says implement this interface. So now the pending thing is to implement the observer interface. So let's go ahead and implement the observer interface. So now I have created a person class which implements the observer interface. So what I'm going to do here is we'll add all these methods provided by the observer interface to this person class. So apart from this, I would like to have a name for this person. So let's quickly go ahead and create a name for this person, and in the person constructor let's take the name and set it. So now we have taken the name from the person constructor and setting it here. In the notify me method, whenever a person is notified, what I want to do is I want to call system.out.println, and I want to say that name got notified. And after the notification, I want that the person should say that he got the updated golden number. So he will say golden number is and he will display the golden number. So whenever a person is getting updated, he will say that he got the golden number and he got notified. So this is how the flow will look like. So now let's go to the main method, because that's the only thing we want to implement now, because we are done with all these three steps. So we'll go to the main method and quickly construct a subject. So let's go to the, so let's quickly create a subject. So we'll say subject radio is new radio station. All right, and this does not take anything in the constructor, so we'll leave it like that. And similarly, we want to create some observers. So we'll say observer ob1 is equal to new observer. Sorry, let me undo that. Observer, and I want to create an observer with name Vlad. So this is how I'm going to create some observers. Let me create 4 observers, and I'll name it observer 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'll simply change the name over here. So Vlad, Nico, Roman, and Faustin. So these are my 4 observers, and I have to make this person because I cannot create an instance of a interface. So let's go ahead and do it. So now we have 1 radio station and 4 observers. So let's try to notify observer. Okay, so in the notify observer inside the radio station, what we have done is for each observer we are calling the notify me method. But now, as you know right now, that there are no observers right now. So if we try to run this code, we will see nothing. So let's go ahead and try to run this code, and as you can see, we are not seeing anything because we have not registered any observers yet. So now let's go ahead and register some observers. So let's register observer 1, which is Vlad, and also register observer 2, which is Nico. So now let's try to again do a notify observers. So this time Vlad and Nico should be notified with the golden number, which is 2 by default. So let's run this program, and you can see that Vlad is saying that Vlad got notified and Nico is saying that Nico got notified, and the golden number is 2 for both of them. Now let's go ahead and add one more observer to this observer list. So we are going to register OB3, and also at the same time I'm going to modify. So I'm going to say update golden number to 4, and this will notify all the registered observers right now. So after this, there are 3 observers for this, and this update should also update and notify all these 3 observers. So let's now run this program, and you will see that firstly, okay, so since I'm not calling the notify observers here, we are not seeing the result. So let's go ahead here and call the notify observers also here, and now go to the main method and do a run. So now, yeah, you can see that after the update and adding a new register, whenever there is an update, Vlad is getting notified with the new number, Nico is getting notified with the new number, and Roman is also getting notified. So now let's try and go ahead and start removing some of the observers. So let's unregister OB1, and let's add let's also unregister OB2, which is Nico, and register Faustin, which is OB4. And now we will say radio dot notify, update golden number. And whenever we are saying radio dot update golden number, now this time we are going to update the golden number to 10. Now after this, our Vlad and Nico should not be receiving any updates from the radio station. So only Roman and Faustin should be seeing the new updated golden number, which is 10. So let's go ahead and run this program. So as you can see now, only Roman and Faustin are getting notified because Vlad and Nico got unregistered from the subject on demand. So this is the essence of this observer design pattern. There is a subject which a list of observers want to observe, and whenever there is a new update in the subject notifies all the objects, all the observers, that hey observer, there is an update, would you like to take it? And it will call the notify method on the observer. So we have gone through all these 4 steps and created the implementation for observer design pattern from scratch. I hope you have understood what is observer design pattern and will not find any difficulty in implementing one if you want to try. So that's it guys with this observer design pattern. I hope to see you in the next one.